It's official, it's been 1 year touring through Australia with the big 2500 Ram, but I'm gonna run you through the good, the bad. This is a bit of a tough one to swallow. The Ram will not be coming. The ugly. I'm doing, something's not right at all. Question is, should you tour Australia in an American truck? Are they too big? Are they too ugly? Let's find out. Stay tuned, we're gonna run through it all. Rams suck, I'm going back to a 79. Now, before we rip into the Ram, let's take it back 4 years ago when I built my dream touring vehicle. It was a 79 series, chassis extended, V8 79. Now, that was my dream car. I've been dreaming about that vehicle for years, and we made it happen, and I spent 2 years touring throughout all of Australia, towing vans, towing boats, and I thought that was the pinnacle. And then the American trucks hit the Australian market. So at the end of 2022, we decided we wanted to go and tour America. This was a massive decision and something completely different. Now, the original concept was to take my 79 series, the Australian truck, and take it over to America. Now, we ran into a lot of dramas with that. Number one, we could only take it over for a year, and it had to be on all these special permits, and you weren't really allowed to drive it on the road. You're only allowed to take it from show to show. So that threw a huge spanner in the works. So option two was, do we build an American truck, fully Australian spec'd with Australian companies, and send that over to America and show the Yankees how Australians build American vehicles? And we did exactly that. We bought our first 2500 dual cab Ram. So off we went on the biggest adventure the Explore Life has ever undertaken. Now, we managed to jam this 2500 Ram into a shipping container and send it over to America. All right, things to do. We've just landed. Got to get a rental car, got to get some accommodation, got to figure out where the Ram is and pick it up. We landed in America, in LA, a couple of Aussies, myself and Nav. We looked very out of place. It was a massive undertaking. It cost me far too much money, and it's something I won't be doing ever again.
That looks wrong, doesn't it?
Don't mind this one.
Don't mind this. This is a monster. What are you going to do with this thing? You're going to get out of here and the cops, whoop, as soon as we get out. Surely.
You reckon we'll stand out over here?
No, no, no.
We're on, baby. We're on. I'm frothing. As soon as we got out of LA, we're okay, and then we're into it. We spent just under a year traveling. We literally went all the way up the West Coast. We cut across the top and went from North Carolina all the way down to the Florida Keys and back across to Texas. Just under a year touring throughout America in all different types of terrain, hot weather, cold weather, freezing cold weather, guys. It was an experience that I'll never forget, and one I'm very glad we did. So when it comes to the American platform, I was blown away with just how many kilometers we were able to lay in this vehicle.
Let's go! How are you feeling after 17 hours straight and 4 hours of sleep?
Oh, I'm feeling like I've just driven 17 hours with 4 hours sleep. You can just sit in that lounge chair and away you go. Now, we towed a couple of different things over there, small Patriot, a 14-foot Sky RV. Towing is probably one of the biggest pros around an American truck. You do not know that thing is on the back. It tows it like an absolute dream. We managed to do a little bit of off-roading over there, but nothing that I would call hardcore four-wheel driving, nothing that was really going to compete with what we put our vehicles through touring in Australia. So after doing the lap around America, I'd fallen in love with the Ram platform. It was comfy. We only had 1 or 2 little breakages. So when we come back to Australia, the big question was, do we bring it back? Do we build another one? Do we go back to a 70 series? And at that point, I wasn't 100% ready to go back to a 70 series. I felt like we'd done 70% of testing on the Ram, but we hadn't done that last 30%, which was that hardcore wheeling. I really wanted to compare what we did in the 70 79 with a Ram. Would that vehicle make it to the tip of Australia? I towed a Patriot camper all the way up the old Telegraph track in the 79. So I wanted to replicate that by towing something behind the Ram all the way up the Tele track. And I really thought that the dual cabs were probably going to be this much too big. The tracks that we like to tackle, we end up lost on little bits and pieces, having to do U-turns, bog holes, tight overgrown tracks that my 79 got scratched to hell in. I was like, is the dual cab the best platform? So we come up with this concept to build something that's never been built in Australia. It's almost impossible to do that now. There's so many vehicles that have been done, and they've been done to such a high level that a game-changing build more or less doesn't exist anymore. It's very, very hard to do. But over in America, I had seen what they call the regular cab. Back here in Australia, we call them a 2500 single cab. They call them a regular cab. And I really fell in love with that platform. It's got the same wheelbase as a 1500 Ram, but you've got all the features, the size, the towing capability of a 2500 platform. This meant I could have the same size touring canopy on the back of my single cab as I had on my dual cab, but I still had another 900 mil of tray space, which is absolutely epic. The decision was made. We were going to import one. That was challenge number one. Thanks to the team at AusMV back then, we actually managed to bring one over. You can now get these vehicles, believe it or not, from ATA, American Trucks Australia. You can go and order yourself a single cab Ram, which is pretty crazy, and I do think you'll start seeing a few more of them getting around. Before we rip into that, I do just want to say a massive shout out to Kale and the whole team at Easy Off-Road. They put hours and hours into this. We sat down, we designed this vehicle together. Look, the boys really busted their ass to get this thing done before the Brisbane show, and we managed to get it finished, and honestly, I do think it's one of the best looking vehicles we've owned. I've always just wanted to build the ultimate touring setup. What vehicle that is, what that is to tow, what's too big, what's too small, what's not practical. And that's been a bit of a mission of mine for the last decade. You know, I started touring around Australia in a Mitsubishi Triton. So it's just been this progression. It's a passion of mine to really find what is the best touring vehicle for me. Now, everyone tours differently, guys. What is the best touring solution for me might not be the best touring solution for you. Yes, maybe the Rams aren't achievable for everyone in the market, guys, and we completely understand that. By the time you buy a brand new 79 dual cab for 100 grand, $95,000, and you do basic modifications to get it up to what this spec is out of the box, it's not as unachievable as a lot of you guys might think. However, we still run around the country in $10,000 discos, $15,000 LNs. We got the GU ute, little 3-litre ute. So we like to have a mix of everything on the channel, but my goal has always been, what is the gnarliest, best touring vehicle I can ever possibly build? Without the support of sponsors and everyone else, there is no chance I would be driving around Australia in a $300,000 Ram. I would probably be in a 79 series to whatever level I could afford at the time. The reality is, the goal is to build the biggest, wildest thing we possibly can, and with the help of companies, that's what we went after. You, yes you, imagine walking out to your shed, popping the door, and this is right there, guys. This month on The Dream, for as little as $5, you could take the whole lot. We got the 45 Troopy, guys, with the 350 Chev under the bonnet, 450 Husky Dirt Squirter. We got the Traeger wood-fired cooker. We got the brand new Fat Cat with the 40 Merc on the back, full off-road trailer, and the Amp Bros Ace bike, guys. If that's not a dream shed, I don't know what is. Don't miss out. Join Australia's biggest outdoor club today. Back to the very first trip. It was actually 5 Rocks, where we decided we're going to take it for its first test run, shakedown trip. Yupoon's probably a good 12, 14 hour drive from where we live. It's got sand, it's got tight tracks, it's got that massive big sandy hill. So we got in the big girl and away we went. Now, first impressions, guys, when you drive one of these American trucks, you think, damn, this thing's big, it's large, I can't see over the bonnet. And that's all very normal. You get used to it very quickly. We wanted to get in and do a decent 12-hour, 15-hour drive straight off the bat. And wow, it handles like a dream on the road. It is literally like driving a lounge chair. 10-hour drive, straight off the bat, Gold Coast all the way up to Yeppoon, and then we're sneaking out into Byfield National Park, out to Five Rocks. It's got so much torque and power out of the box that honestly you don't need to tune an American vehicle, whereas, you know, a big boy tuning a 79 is what you're getting out of one of these factory out of the box. Plus, it has the automatic. I've driven predominantly manual vehicles my whole life. This was my first proper touring vehicle that was an automatic, and I love it. I love changing gears, and it's all fun to actually be driving a vehicle, but there is very few scenarios where a manual is better for touring than an automatic. The long distance drives, big sand hills, your hardcore wheeling, you have so much more control with an automatic than you do in a manual. It's just fact, and it is a lot easier and more pleasurable driving experience in my opinion. So I love the auto, I loved how it handled on the blacktop, and then it was time to get to Five Rocks, and the first challenge you're faced with, Big Sandy. And Big Sandy is this long kilometre-plus hill climb in soft sand. We get there in the Ram, I'm a little bit nervous, we air down the tyres and away we go. Here we go, the first section shouldn't be too bad, it's definitely still soft. Oh, we definitely should have gone left.
We should have gone left.
Oh, Struce, now we're going to cross over. That's not ideal. Oh, oh, we're in somewhat trouble. Oh.
Keep it. I reckon, yeah, slower. Yeah. Good.
Oh,
He's spinning a fair bit slow. Oh, damn.
Go big girl.
It's coming in the window.
These are some big holes. Oh, we're at the top, baby! And it was from that moment on that I knew this truck was gonna be a good touring vehicle. We absolutely ate this hill up. Sat there and just cruised up this hill like it was nothing. So that was my first inkling that I might be onto something. Then we were straight into the tight tracks. My first touring trip, and here we are scratching the absolute shit out of the Ram, and I'm like, oh, maybe it is too big. Trip one, and we've already scratched the new car. Doesn't matter. So why are you laughing so much?
I can't help it, he's just destroyed.
But I remembered back when we took the 79 on these exact same tracks, and they were copping scratches as well. Now, obviously, this was copping scratches worse. The Ram, the 2500 Ram, and they are the smaller of all the American platforms. Your Fords and Chevys are wider again, but the Ram is actually 300mm wider in the body than your 79 Series Land Cruiser, which is... that's a big difference, guys. Powder-coated sections on your canopy and bits and pieces, and your side mirrors, they obviously cop a few little scratches, but that's like any full-drive vehicle, to be completely honest. Right, damage report. Mirrors are good, little scratch. These guards, thanks to bush wraps, have stopped any scratching. I just got all the mud off there. I've torn a little bit of wrap here, but as you can see, the paint is still good underneath. Rim's got a little bit of a polish up. That's how bloody tight it was going down that truck. The back corner here, on the GCI, it all touched, but just a light scuff. Get some bush wraps. It's going to save your vehicle, I promise you that. Yes, we're sponsored by them, but it is an incredible product and one that I will put on every single touring vehicle, sponsored or not. So we pulled up to camp at Five Rocks, guys, and that's when I really got to rip into using the canopy. Now, like I said, we got to keep the same size canopy as I had on my dual cab, but on a single cab, and look how much tray space we've got on the back. We got the massive storage box here, guys. We got all our rubbish bags. We're currently up on Fraser Island. We got the spare wheel. I actually dropped back to one spare wheel on this truck, first time ever. BF Goodrich tyres have never let me down. In a decade of touring around Australia and the world, I've never had a BFG puncture and leave me stranded. So we went with the option to drop back to one spare. Now, Murphy's Law, I was a little bit concerned that, of course, I would get two punctures like that, but of course, BF Goodrich, best tyres in the game, I actually haven't had a puncture. So the spare still sat up on the backs. This box here was great for all of our life jacket storage, but that was the first trip where I was like, really enjoyed the practicality and the space and usability of what we'd put on the back of a single cab Ram. Not having that space on the back on another touring vehicle, I think I'd actually struggle. I've become so accustomed to that. Putting a dirt bike on the back, pushies, firewood, swags, wet shit. It all just gets thrown in the tray. It's absolutely awesome. Well, boys, first trip with the big thing under its belt. A couple of scratches, a couple of things we can change and improve on, but all in all, I am stoked. It's absolutely blown me away.
Amazing comfort, the whole thing. And even in the sand, just the torque.
just steam trained.
Here we go, Cape York. It is, in my opinion, the biggest adventure you can take on in Australia. So we took on Cape York just like we took on Cape York with the 79. I had the Ram and I wanted to tow so it was an even apples for apples comparison. Since the car was a little bit bigger, we thought, why don't we step the trailer up just a little bit? There's no point in improving the same point. Patriot's a great van, you can tow it pretty much anywhere. So we were working with the guys at Sky RV and we thought, let's prototype their 11-foot Sky RV. Anywhere your vehicle can go, the 11-footer is supposed to follow you. It was still prototype development at the time, and we threw that behind the Ram and away we went. Corrugations, absolutely loves corrugations. I think the big 37s, giving you that slightly bigger footprint, you may skim over a couple more rather than falling into some of the ruts with 33s or 35s. The 37s just glide over corrugations. So you can sit, for the first time ever, I've been in a vehicle where I'm sitting on corrugations, cruising, you know, not worried about the dash jumping out and smacking me in the head. Of course, you still hit the big ones where no matter what vehicle you're in, you know, you're shaking to pieces. But corrugations, big tick. The Ram handled it like a dream. Towing the van, handled it like a dream. Obviously, that's one of the strongest points of the American trucks is the towing capability. Automatic, the amount of comfort, no dramas. So we made it up to our first major obstacle, guys. It was the Frenchman's Track, straight into the Pasco River. It is one of the gnarliest little downhill sections, and I was genuinely concerned about towing a van through there.
The descent down into Pasco is pretty wild with a trailer on, I can tell you that. Ooh, pretty sure that was my rear tail shaft just touching a rock. But we're almost down.
Down into almost bonnet deep on the Ram, which I can tell you is not a small vehicle. We're running a 3-inch lift, 37-inch tyres, sits up to about here on me, the Ram. We come in, little bit of side movement with the van going through the crossing, and then there's a big exit. And I've seen people struggle, winch, carry on to get out of there. I think I've winched previously as well. And holy smokes, this was my first time doing real four-wheel driving in an American platform, and I was eating it up. I couldn't believe the look on my face when I come out of that Pasco crossing.
Holy dooly, that was wild. Yeah, the big girl. She's got heaps when you need it. I was trying not to give it too much, but geez, she locked in and away we went.
Like, holy shit. Right, we've got a proper hardcore wheeler here. It is a big truck. It's a heavy truck, but it's got the balls to back it up. We did all of the Frenchman's Track with no dramas whatsoever, and then it was time for the Old Telegraph Track. Now we got to Palm Creek, and I've always driven Palm Creek, and this was the first time I said, you know what, that's actually not smart. It's too big, it's too undercut. A few vehicles had flipped, so we decided to take a sidetrack. The problem with the sidetrack is you've got to drop down into the creek, run all the way along up the creek, and then a hell steep exit out. Same thing we did in the 79. It was literally replicating what we'd done. So this was great. So this is something that I noticed straight away, is that it was a little bit longer. The turning circle was pretty similar. A chassis extended 79 has the turning circle of the Titanic. I can tell you it is absolutely horrendous. Then we got to the exit. We then noticed, but by towing a longer van, we had a little bit more drama than towing a Patriot. Patriot's got that shorter turning circle. Obviously the wheels are only this far behind your vehicle. But we had the Sky RV, we had to winch that thing around and boots up the exit, no winching, way we went, identical to what we did in the 79. We got to the biggest challenge of all, Gunshot Creek. Now, I had no intentions of driving Gunshot. We got there, the nerves started flowing, the boys started chirping, and I was like, you know what, it's probably fair. If we want to test it apples for apples, we sent the 79 down. Let's see if we can send the Ram down. Gunshot 2024. 2500 Ram with the Sky RV 11 foot on the back. I am it. Can someone religious just say something? We got the tape measure out like idiots because I've never seen an American truck. As far as I know, we're the first American vehicle down Gunshot, which is a pretty cool little achievement for myself and the team that helped build the vehicle. So we got to Gunshot. The mirrors is what I was worried about. What I didn't anticipate was the bottom of the track is a bit like a triangle. And so I was measuring where the mirrors were and I was like, you know what, I actually think it's doable because I don't go there to wreck trucks. Now we drop down into Gunshot. my pants, my brand new truck boots down into the mud. What I didn't anticipate was how much narrow it actually got at the bottom. And I was like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna drive gunshot in a ram. So as we come over the top, the drawbar of the 11-footer just got caught. Obviously you got a vertical car, the wheels for the caravan were back here, and the wheels were actually completely in the air. We were sitting on the chassis only on the caravan. So we knew there was a chance we were gonna get stuck. We ran the winch out off the back of Kale's truck. I needed one little pull. As soon as we had that the chassis over and the wheels on the ground, I drove out on my own steam.
Straight out.
There we go. Oh my God, Russ. Again. So we managed to get off the old telegraph track, guys, after completing every obstacle we set out to achieve, and we did it very easily, to be honest. A little bit of winch here in Gunshot, a little bit of winch at Palm Creek. Everything else we ate up. And to be honest, we did it easier in the 2500 Ram than we did in the 79. We lifted less wheels. I didn't have to give it the berries as hard as I did in the 79 in a lot of situations. We did it with more comfort. We did it with more gear, and overall genuinely handled the telegraph track better than my 79 series did, which I was not expecting. You know, you can blast me in the comments that a 79's better all you want. It wasn't. The Ram was better. However, we had a casualty. All right, guys, so we are gonna do a little run out to the 5 beaches. This is a bit of a tough one to swallow and not exactly how I was hoping this trip to go, but the big girl, the Ram, will not be coming on the little beach run. We've had an issue. What actually happened, I spent so much time, because this car does it so easy. A lot of the time, when you're driving along the main dirt road, you're just in two-wheel drive, right? You're just cruising. Then you come up to some obstacles, and because the Ram was doing it so easy, I left it in two-wheel drive a lot, and it just drove it, no dramas. What I didn't realize was I was actually putting a lot of load on the gearbox. Now, regardless of that, the Ram 2500 platform is known for having a gearbox. 3500, it's got the upgraded gearbox. It can definitely handle a lot more than the 2500. So what we'd done is we'd fried a few of the gear sets in the automatic. It was popping out of gear and just revving. Other than that, I still drove the car all the way home from Cape York back to the Gold Coast, and then the car drove fine. And now to do a gearbox upgrade on this is a very expensive process. I didn't have any money left after building this truck. I ran with it. I knew it was going to let me down at some point, but I ran with it. I actually did the whole of the Victorian High Country with a weakened gearbox, and it did it with ease. That was challenge number 2. Can it handle the Victorian High Country? Can it handle those big hill climbs? Can 5-tonner truck climb a mountain? And yes, it can. Once again, blown away. Every single thing we threw at this truck, it did it, and it did it with ease. The other thing that we learned in the Victorian High Country, and a couple of times this has been reinforced with different American trucks that we've seen out on the road, is I do think we made the right decision going to a single cab. I noticed that on the Chevys, the ramp over angle, it would scrub out. Now, given he was running 35s, I think if you're going to go the dual cab, you really need that bigger lift, but mainly you need the bigger wheels to get that chassis up higher off the ground. So the ramp over angle was definitely an issue for the longer vehicles, where we had no dramas whatsoever with any of the ramp over. We've got good departure angle, and we've got a great approach angle on this vehicle as well. Now, if you're doing more of your just touring by towing a van around Australia, going to caravan parks, doing some light four-wheel driving, I think the dual cabs will get everything you need possibly done. It wasn't until we got back from the Victorian High Country and I took it for a sneaky little Fraser trip with the boys, towing a toy hauler, and I thought, I'm going to tow my toy hauler through Nagala Rocks. Not the smartest thing I've ever decided to do. I blew reverse on the 2500 Ram. So that was it. The gearbox was 100%. We took it down to G&L. When it comes to American trucks, G&L are hands down industry leaders when it comes to fixing anything on the American platforms. We knew this was a weak point. We were told at the start, you should upgrade it. Because that's what I had in America, and it lasted 30,000 Ks, I was like, well, there can't be that much of a rush to do it. We knew that was a weak point. Every vehicle has its weak points, and we found it. So we upgraded the diff gears, we upgraded the gearbox. We retuned the whole vehicle with G&L, which allowed us to adjust the valve pressures in the gearbox. It can hold gears longer. It can change out of the weaker gears faster. It is an absolute weapon. When you compare it back to a 79, guys, it's very similar. I had to do diff gears on my 79. I had to upgrade my clutch on the 79 because it's a weak point when we did the tune, when we threw more power into it. But if you do own a Ram, that was something that caught me out. We don't hide anything on the Explore Life. We always tell you the good, the bads. And honestly, the car was pretty much bulletproof except for that gearbox. Since having the gearbox upgraded, we're now running 515 horsepower. We're running just over 1,400 Newton meters on 37s. This thing is a towing machine. The gearbox has been bulletproof ever since. The last little trip we did, guys, we went down and we're like, let's really put this thing to the test, like a weekend warrior car, through some bog holes, tight, overgrown tracks. We went down to Barrington Tops and around that New South Wales region. We were hitting mud tracks. We were doing the tight, narrow tracks that all the guys said, oh, you can't get the Ram through there. And once again, the Ram absolutely powered through everything. There's a couple of sections where you need to pick a slightly different line, but all in all, hands down, this truck has absolutely nailed everything we've thrown at it. So guys, now let's run through the pros and cons of having this vehicle, and maybe I'll compare it to some of the other touring vehicles I've owned as well. 3 pros, 3 cons, guys. 3 pros for the big American truck. Well, to kick it off, the number 1 pro has got to be your towing capability. These cars are built to tow. All your HD trucks, I don't care what you got, your 300s tuned, your chops, your 79s, forget about all of them. These are the king of the road. And not just necessarily the Rams, Fords are probably better, to be honest. They've got more power, more torque. Your Chevys as well, guys. The HD platforms are towing machines. There's no if, buts or maybes about that. Pro number 2 has got to be your GVM capability. I've got a 5.3 ton GVM on this single cab setup. To have the ability to go straight to 5.3 ton, these come out of the box with a 4.5 ton GVM and a 4.5 ton tow. If you go buy a dual cab Land Cruiser and you want the same capability, you need to spend 50, 60K on a J-Max. You're at the same price. What you get out of this, factory power wise and all that, you are miles ahead. Apples for apples, dollars for dollars, you are further ahead with an American truck than taking a 70 series and having to build the whole entire platform. The way in which we tour now, we do probably take you don't need, of course. Do you need a coffee machine? No. Do you need all the extra fridges? No. You don't need any of this shit. Yes, I could throw an Esky in the back of my LN and I could go tour Australia. You guys are right, rah-de-rah-de-rah, but I want it, so I built it. That's the end of the story. For all the keyboard warriors that want to rip in and say you don't need this, you don't need this. And I've toured Australia without this. So the other pro is probably capability out of the box, is that they are very capable vehicles out of the box. You can take them a long way. Obviously this one's heavily modified, but just jumping in a standard truck, towing, four-wheel driving, running up the beach, you can do it all with absolute ease. Now let's talk about 3 cons. Con number 1 is price. They are very expensive. Once again, you pay for what you get, but that has got to be con number 1. This is probably the cheapest of the HD range. This is a tradesman. I went the bottom of the line. I went a single cab. I went tradesman, which is your basic spec. I even specifically specified a manual shifting gear stick for the transfer case. I don't have electronic four-wheel drive in this. I've still got the stick on the floor, which is pretty bloody cool. That's definitely a con, the price. Con number 2, that is the, everyone's statement is it's big. It's not gonna fit anywhere. Bullshit. I've taken it everywhere. You can't use that argument anymore. It doesn't work. We've proven it, we've done it, but it is big, guys. You will get more scratches. But if you look at my car, after being through hell for a year, it's dirty, but it looks grouse. There's no scratches. The PPF has protected it. All of my canopy doors are wrapped in PPF. If we have a look at this, because this is powder coat, yes, there's scratches. Is it horrendous? Not really. The truck is in very, very good condition considering where we've taken this vehicle. So yes, it's big, which means you don't really want to use it as a daily. It is, in my opinion, it's too big for a daily driver. I have dailied this thing. I can still get it into all the car parks at Coles and bits and pieces like that. Obviously, you're not going into shopping centres. If you're driving your full drive into a shopping centre, probably not big enough, in my opinion. So yeah, it's a shocking daily driver, but you definitely can daily it, and I have dailied it. It takes a bit of getting used to, and once you used to driving it daily, it's not that bad, but it's definitely not my preference for a daily driver. Con number 3. Now, a lot of people would say reliability in parts. So far, yes, we fried the gearbox, everything else has been fine. So availability in parts, it hasn't been an issue. There are so many Ram parts throughout Australia now that I'm not worried about that. What is a con is when you break something, it's very expensive to fix. Now, the parts in general are more expensive than your other vehicles. That's probably the con. Reliability, I'm okay with the reliability factor. We've sort of proven that. 2 years traveling out of these trucks and I've fried a gearbox. That's about it. And 1 suspension brake. When you do break something on an American truck, get ready to put your hand in your pocket. You know, the gearbox upgrade, just to fix it back to standard was about $15,000. We threw a lot more at it because we did a tune and we did everything else. But you know, you're talking about $30,000 to upgrade these things to make them bulletproof. That's with diff gears. That's with a lot of extra shit that we threw at it. But that is definitely a con. If you break your American car, you're paying big bucks. So that's probably my 3 biggest pros and cons, guys. Take it as you will. Let me know in the comments if you guys have had different experiences. Obviously, every now and again, someone's gonna buy a truck that was built on a Friday and it's gonna cost you a lot more. And so sometimes you get a dud, sometimes you don't. But that's my 3 pros and cons. It's 2 years touring around in American vehicles. What have we found? What do we build next? What the hell am I gonna do? So, all in all, I've loved it. I've loved the American experience. I've loved driving this around. My honest opinion, this versus the 79, which is a better touring vehicle? A lot of you are gonna hate me. I've got to give it to the Ram. But I tell you what, the Ram isn't. It's not a 70 series Land Cruiser. And I love 70 series Land Cruisers. We may have a little rebuild, we'll see what happens, but this truck's staying for the year. Now, what do we build the following year? And why are we building something else? Every 2 years, guys, I like to build a new truck. 1, because it's fun. 2, because it gives us the opportunity to build something different. At the end of the day, our job is to create content. So building new trucks is great content. I don't want to get rid of this vehicle. And I don't think I will. If I can afford it, I'm gonna try and keep it. Now, let me run you through the genuine options with what we're looking at doing for potentially next year. I just keep this truck and I run it for all the big trips where we're towing the big boats. I am this close to going back into a 70 series Land Cruiser because love them. I love being in a 70 series. I love the ruggedness of it. I love the V8. It's the last of the V8s. If I want to snag one, I've got to grab one right now because there's none left. Do I go back into a 70 series, which I'm very close to doing, and keep this for the big trips? I might not be able to afford that. I might have to sell this to go back into a 70. Or do we try a different platform? Do we go into the Fords, the Chevys? My personal opinion, I don't like the Chevs. I don't like the torsion bar front ends. The Chevys are not for me. I don't like the platform that I've got to build there. The Fords, I'm kind of tempted to build a Ford. And if I'm gonna build a Ford, I'm very tempted to build a space cab, an extra cab F350. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. I can go to a full liquid spring setup, which gives me that adjustability that I was talking about in lowering the vehicle. It is insane. Kale, the team at EC Off-Road, if you guys own a big American truck, F350, 250, go and have a yarn about liquid springs. If you're building another truck, go and drive one and then have a yarn about liquid springs. They are incredible. They're good for weight towing, the drivability. I've never been in a big truck hooked into a corner or around a roundabout and you have 0 body roll. The thing's just it's like a sports car. It's very weird. So I'm half tempted to build a Ford. It will be bigger again than my Ram, which I'm a little bit scared, a little bit hesitant. I don't know that I would like to go bigger than this. That's where we're at. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. I really want your guys' feedback on this. Be honest, are you sick of seeing us in an American truck? Do you want to see us back in a 70? Do you want me to keep going and find out if an extra cab Ford is too big? Do you want me to tell you whether a Ford beats the shit out of a Ram or a Ram's better? I'm really at a crossroads. I feel like a 79 was my dream vehicle. I got to build that. With the American platform, we got to try it, we got to test it, and it outdid every expectation. This truck outdid every expectation I possibly had. I was pretty well convinced that I was gonna build this car, travel around Australia for a year, and stand here and go, Rams suck. I'm going back to a 79. And that's what I honestly thought was gonna happen. Couldn't be further from the truth. This thing has killed it. Let us know, guys. This whole episode is really about What do you guys want to see? What should we build? Let us know in the comments. Once again, appreciate all the support, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the journey that was building the Ram, testing the Ram. We're not finished yet. Obviously, we got the rest of this year to punish this thing, but I feel like we're at a point now where we've done enough challenges, enough locations to really show you guys that it has what it takes. We've broken what we've broken. It's done everything else it's done. We don't hide it on camera. We don't pretend like it makes up any hills that it doesn't. But the big question is, do I go back to a Land Cruiser? Till next time, guys, subscribe if you aren't even subscribed yet. There's a lot of you guys that aren't. Get out, enjoy the Explore life in whatever vehicle you have, because it doesn't matter as long as you're out there living the Explore life. Cheers.